For me, when I do read some of that kind of stuff.
That's the stuff I used to have. I like reading that. It was interesting how many times they responded to comments. They came back 3 or 4 times. Based on what happened last year, based on the farmers all
They switched roles on the night.
Is this Facebook Live?
I see it.
The hard thing. Yes.
Well, it's already a lot of meetings.
$3. Yeah.
Nope, I'm gonna figure this out. The battery's not dead, I promise you that.
Bring you back up to this one on here. I'll come every time.
You ready? Oh, yeah. Almost. Sean, are you ready?
Yeah.
7 o'clock, please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda line item number 2, roll call. All council members present. Councilor Gerald is on vacation. Additions or corrections or deletions to the agenda? I have none. Mr. Edmonds? Mr. Edmonds. Staff?
Mayor and council, the staff is set with this agenda.
If I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented, I'll make a motion. I have a motion, but a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Okay. Consideration of the city council meeting minutes. Number 1, regular meeting minutes and study session meeting minutes. Wishes the council to do 1 and 2 together or separate?
I'll make a motion to approve the city council meeting minutes.
Got a motion to approve 1 and 2. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. moving on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a little bit larger. We have personnel, items 1 and 2, donations 1 through 3, and miscellaneous 4, number 1. Wishes the council to do all 6 or separate them?
Okay, with all of them. I just had a question on 4.1. Is there something we could talk about there to give a little more insight, or should we even, or?
Go to the police chief.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, there's, the situation was destroying property at the park. So they were advised and then did it again.
Just out of curiosity, is there, I guess I'm aware there is vandalism at the park, we all know that, but generally, if you catch somebody, like if you give them one time with a warning or some kind of discipline, is that generally?
I think we look at every situation separately, but I think that this one was a camping situation out of town, so.
And the reason because this is, we haven't seen this on the agenda for some time.
A couple of years.
We had juvenile last time.
Oh, just named it as juvenile or juvenile A.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not allowed to.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Fine with it, okay.
Yeah.
So take a motion from the council to approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 4, and all of the numbers between.
I'll make the motion.
I got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, moving on, number 5, open forum. Open forum is a time for the public to come forward and discuss any items that are not on the agenda. If you are on the agenda, don't come forward now. We'll call you when we get to that line number item. But if you are not on the agenda and you want to speak, please come forward now. You'll have to come to the mic and then state your name and address for record.
Hello, Kevin Gerard.
And before you start, Mr. Gerard, I just want to kind of go over something real quick here. Okay, so, is this about the public utilities or a different incident?
I want to know what relationship does the city of Princeton have with the public utilities?
Okay, is that all you want to talk about?
To some degree, yeah.
Okay, the second thing that you want to talk about and probably want to discuss. So today we're in the court of public opinion, right? Everything that you say in the court of public opinion can actually be used against you in the court of law. So I just want to caution that part. If you come up and say that you want to speak about some other things, maybe you would just speak about it and reserve your right to come back and discuss those items after that other part of that is worked out. Does that kind of make sense? I wouldn't want you to say anything tonight that could go on the record that could be used against you in the actual court of law.
And that would go as a council as well. It could
City
be
council,
against
yeah.
you, use
Against me too, yeah.
you.
Yep, every day, but I'm really good at this part, so I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So that's why I did that. I just want to make sure you're good with it. Okay, so let's talk about public utilities. We'll go there first.
Okay, now from my understanding, you're two separate entities.
Two separate PID property,
Okay.
employee identification numbers, yes. They have a separate one than we do.
And if, let me ask a question, if the city wanted to build the town west, but the PUC wanted to go east, who decides?
Who decides?
Yeah, if you want to put the roads and gutters and curbs and sewer to one direction, but they want to do the water and electric in the other direction, who decides?
Well, that's a great question. I don't have the answer to that unless Mr. Barbian does.
Well, I would say that, Mr. Gerard, there's probably, and to the council, there's probably numerous questions that would become before us in considering each direction. And if it were my decision, we would expand both ways. So, but it all depends. There's a
Well, what
lot
if
of,
there was no compromise?
there always is compromise.
So you're kind of like a partnership with them?
Well, I'll answer that. We'll see how that goes in 2 weeks.
Okay.
You know, we'll see how that goes in 2 weeks, so we don't know that yet. We are normally, but we'll see in 2 weeks.
And as far as data, who collects the data and records data for the Princeton? Is that outside source, another state or federal agency that does it? Or is it all done in-house on all the projects?
No, so, great question. The data for our sewer infrastructure is data kept here at City Hall. And we go through that and do the testing through the engineer who's not here tonight. And that data is kept through the engineering firm. And then, you know, if we would cease to work with that engineering firm, we go to a new one, there'd be some data that may be transferred or may be lost or not retained.
So if I wanted to review that data, would I go to an outside source to get permission to get you guys to show me that information? Or is that open to the public? Can anybody just review that data?
You know, as far as-
If I could, Mr. Gerard, so there's certain data that the city is going to collect and required to keep, and there's certain data that the utilities is going to collect and keep. So some of that utility information, for example, that they have to keep, we might have some of that information, but are not required to keep it all. So to answer your question as to where you might find data, it could be at both locations, but if it's related to water, it's primarily going to be at the utilities.
So there is some here, but not hearing you
There
say.
could be a limited amount of the water that is here, yes. It depends what specifically you'd be looking for. For example, what area of town, and take
I
it
just
next to you.
want to review it. I just want to come and see what you do have in your building.
And similarly to a public records request, when there is broad information, and if it starts to involve our consultants or our engineer, and it involves an expense on the part of the city, those expenses can be required to be covered by the person who's seeking that information.
Well, let's start with just one project, project number 14896.000.
I wish I could tell you what project that was, but I'm
That's
sure you
okay.
can.
Well, you got it written down, right?
No, give it to me one more time.
14846.000. It's the water main that goes underneath the west branch of the Rum River.
Yep, I'll get back to you.
And I just wanted to see what you have here. Okay. One last question from the mayor. Last election, you ran on fixing the public utilities here in town.
Yeah.
How's that going?
We will really know how that's going in 2 weeks.
Can I get an explanation or maybe a little?
Oh, in 2 weeks at 5 o'clock, there's a joint meeting between the Public Utility Commission and the City Council and staff from both sides. I think that the room will be pretty full at 5 o'clock. It's going to be set up as a workshop, and it's open to the public.
It is open to the public. Would we be able to ask questions or get our questions addressed at that meeting?
Only time will tell. I've had many questions unanswered, so I don't know myself, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay. One last question. If mayor or anybody here on council wanted to go over to the PUC to review that file over there that they have on record in their building, I'm not asking them for any specific documents, I just want to know what they have. Are they going to send you to the Minnesota Department of Administration to get that information, or are they going to allow you to review that file? Or is it just me, am I singled out to have to go here to go through to get that information?
That's a great question that we'll probably have answered in 2 weeks.
Could I ask for clarification? Are you talking about this file 14846.000?
Yes, sir.
Well, you know, I don't even know if we have it or if they have it offhand. I think it would depend on whether or not it's readily available or not.
Well,
I mean, that number doesn't, you know, it might, we'd have to look to see if that number really makes it easily, readily accessible or not. And I don't know the answer to that without looking.
Could I address the council there?
Yeah?
According to the state, the state statutes, it's supposed to be readily available. Is that correct?
What are you talking about?
Documents, of records for the, whatever they have in that building for water or electric.
Well,
Would you like to see a state statute?
my recollection is you made a data request of the PUC. They denied your request in part. I provided you the contact information for the state agency that you need to appeal to. That's the answer to that question.
I didn't know they denied my
Well, the nature of
request.
your question to the council some weeks ago was that you had made the request and they either refused to provide it or didn't have it. And you were not satisfied with that answer. So I gave you the contact information for where you need to go next. Not the city council, that agency.
Okay, so as far as this goes, you guys aren't partnership with them as far as data goes. But you say you might have
We
some
have
there.
our data, we have city data.
Okay.
They have PUC data. So for the PUC for their data, ask us for our data. Okay?
And again, I would encourage you to come in the 2 weeks ahead.
Yeah, what is the date?
24th of October? Yes, it's 24th of October at 5 p.m. It's set up as a workshop, so I'll ask that the city council put the open forum process in there, but again, they have to approve the agenda. Does that make sense? So the agenda, I'll get it presented, we'll show open forum on here, but then the city council and the PUC is gonna have to approve the agenda as presented, just like we do every night. You know, but it'll be on there, and I just need these guys to approve that. And then
Can we have the open forum later on in the meeting so I can?
Oh, yeah, at the regular
listen to
city
what's
council
going
meeting,
on?
yep, it'll be
And
the
then-
same one at 7, yep, at 7 o'clock, because it's 5 and 7.
No, I mean, in that session, I want an open forum at the beginning, when I don't know what you guys are talking about, I like to hear what's discussed, and then come in after the discussions of that workshop.
Yeah, at 7, yep,
So I-
yep, between there would be a gap, but yeah, there'll be an open forum on the 7 o'clock, meeting.
But I'm talking about at that meeting, though, the workshop at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, we'll have an open forum on there, as long as the city council and the PUC board approves it, yes.
Okay. Okay. that's
I'll
all.
I'll get it put on there, we'll print it, and then these guys have to accept it.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Gerard.
Yep, now get it fixed.
Open forum? Did you bring out like a case of those?
Your Honor, members of the council.
Yes.
Tim Henniger, Union Times newspaper. I would like to present to the city for historical purposes, meaning we would like this to go in the case with the other game
Yes.
and remain sealed as a historical item. Copy of the Princeton game
Yeah.
that the newspaper developed. And they're out, they're on sale. The best place to get them is online right now because that's where the ordering process works the best. But we thank the city for your involvement, fun to see the utilities and all the other things on the game board. People are having a lot of fun with it. But what I'd like to do, Mayor, is present this to you, and if we could put it in the case, we would really appreciate that. But thank you.
I know that the city is,
Thank you, sir.
the city is thankful that you guys put this together, not only for us, but also for Malacca. This, again, goes back in like when the other, Princeton to go back in there. So we do appreciate this, and this will go, we will get this put in the case, and then at the next meeting, I'll get something for you.
Okay, and it's good. That one is, it's just, we like to have them both in there, then people can see the history of it. Because I actually did have people bring in their games, and they
Yeah.
opened them up, and I looked at them, and it was helpful. But this is one we had a lot of fun doing, and I can say with a little jest, it's not all fun games for me, it's actually something that's different that I get to do. So thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Tim.
Yep.
Go back.
Oh, yep.
They try to talk with the firefighters.
Yeah, I said it there because Shauna has the key to that cabinet.
No, it opened up.
No, it didn't open up. There's not, the seal's not torn. Okay, city council still in, I fix this for a second. City council still in open forum. Open forum again is Anybody wants to come up who's not on the agenda, please do so now. Let it be noted that no one stood up. Number 6, public hearings, none. 7, presentations, none. 8, reports, announcements, correspondence, boards, and committee minutes. Park board minutes, any questions? Great Northern Trail update. I think you have something for us on here.
There was a update included in your packets. Everything's going on schedule. Progress is good. No surprises, so I think they're expecting to get it done yet this fall. It's very wet.
Yes.
They're doing well to stay on schedule.
That, it looks good. Anything from council? Okay, number 9, petitions, requests, communications. 10, ordinances and resolutions. Number 11, unfinished business. Number 1, Relief Association increased request. If you weren't here for the rest of our presentation the other night, you want to start it? Okay, was there Chad? That's Chad, the sheet, remember you had the investment sheet? You still have that, Chad? Yes.
That presentation is in your.
Presentation, so we'll go to the presentation in the packet, yep.
Page 20, you can go 21, 20, 19, 19, 20, 21.
Yep, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna switch computers. Mine's in August. August 22nd, okay. The recap, okay. And so where we were at, when you had left, we were, and I'm on page 22 of 97. So on 22 of 90, page 22 of 97 in the packet, we showed in 2019 that $3,400 as a benefit level with 36 active members, that the coverage was 126. Yeah, 126. It was 126. And if I go to page 24, moving forward. Page, yeah, that's the page I'm trying to get to. Yep, page 25. The para cost analysis example, projected assets, investment earnings, assuming a 6% ROR rate of return. And so it comes down here that the relief board, according to what it was, right? Mm-hmm. The relief board had approved in their meeting a $3,800 benefit level. And I'm just looking at the sheet here if I can catch up on this. And then, but we're currently at 3,400. Correct. And so at 3,400, the total percentage that we would be at is 134% vested or funded.
Our funding rate on this.
Okay. Okay. Does this, if I could go back to, when does this have to be submitted? Is there a deadline of the year of 2019 that this?
We have 31st. Yeah, December 31st, we have a form that has to be turned in to Para.
And then, if I could go back, how many years left do we have until someone can take the new higher benefit level?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we just are finishing up our second year with the 5-year curriculum. So we've got 3 more years, and then next year they could take that new benefit level. 2023, 2024.
And I think at that meeting, you know, sorry, it was split of the process, but the comfort level from
from the Relief Association was this to be at 120%? I mean, was that the consensus that you guys had come up with? If you could just catch us back up in that.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we had projected to stay above 110%, before asking for an increase. And I think after some conversation lately, it's going by projections through the end of next year, if we could try to keep that in the 120% category, I think everybody would feel a little more comfortable. Gives us, a little more conservative. But you can see at, either one of those 3,600 or 3,800 that's on that cost analysis, keeps it at that above the 120% mark.
And the chief, what had happened in the conversation that we had when we came up there, I had, it wasn't approved by the council, of course, I just had mentioned that it coming through is, my comfort level in the process was, we feel like, I would say the market, every market that you watch, feels like the market's at the top, and there's a correction coming, whether the correction's coming or not, sooner or later. And I had offered up, going $100 over, because it doesn't matter today if somebody retires today, they're still going to collect the benefit of 2 years ago. And that gives us a momentum to say, going forward for here and then there, which only gives us to the 35 and not to the 36, which still is 27. And so if there was a market correction, that there at least be a buffer where the council wouldn't have to put in extra money. But again, that was just my personal process of the selection. And then it only can go up in increments of $100. If you want to come back to ask that question.
That's correct.
Yeah, so we'll go back into hundreds. And so if we went from 34 to 36 and split the difference of that, we would be still covered into 127%. And if the market did take a correction, it would be able to take a correction of, according to this, 7%, and we would still be adequately funded. And so that part would kind of go through there. And I'm not sure, what the process level for you guys was for that.
As far as council approval on it?
Yeah.
Once we have approval on a figure, that we all agree on, then we just got a form that has to be signed off, and we can submit that to PARA.
How many other fire relief associations are at a higher benefit level than the council that it's processed? Because the relief association can be higher, like you guys could approve a much higher amount, and the city council can also be falling behind that, you know what I mean, or in the process to catch up to it.
It usually goes hand in hand. I don't think there's many departments out there that don't go to a benefit level that hasn't been approved by council. And now that we're with the statewide plan and PARA is the administrator, we have to have that council sign off, and that form has to be submitted with, council or city administration signatures. So all the departments in PARA, have to be, coincide in that.
Got it. Comments from the council other than mine?
Mayor, council, Mayor, it sounds like you're suggesting $200.
Yeah.
That you're thinking about 200.
Yeah.
If we did a 200, our funding would be still at 127%.
Yep.
And I wonder if at the time, if we were to do that, if we would set a policy that it would be at 120. It would be at 120% for future increases. Something along that line. So, and then the other idea would be maybe instead of yearly every year coming back, because I remember this last year, I think it was it 200?
Right.
200 last year. I remember maybe we could have a committee of something set up so that the Relief Association, the council member, the city administrator, fire chief, maybe could meet prior to coming and having have the presentation made there at a smaller level, and then pretty much it could almost be on the consent agenda, even if it was agreed upon, if certain criteria were met, the 120% funding rate, and a recommendation, so we wouldn't
Have to do that.
every year, you know. But I would be in favor of a 200 at this point, because our funding ratio is at 126, I think.
At 127 if you add 200.
127 if you add the 200. so-
3,800 leave 120.
Yeah, and that'd be meeting you halfway.
So if you went down to 120% right now, how much would that be a raise?
So if you go to, it's not on our chart to show that, because at 3,800, it's at 121%. And I'm sure, because there is no dollars and cents on it, there actually is it's rounded up. You know what I mean, or rounded down of whatever it is.
Okay, so why are you trying to go for 120%, but you're okay at 127%? If you're saying you want to set the standard at 120%, set the standard at 120%. Give us the 3,800 and we're done. You're saying one thing, but then you're approving another. You're saying we want to approve 120%, but you're only giving us 124% or whatever it is, 127.
And I think the process always starts out in this, you know, from a governmental level, that the plan, if we start this plan now, it won't be perfect on day one. And so the difference between the city council doing this today for 200 and then looking at it next year, as Councilor Zimmer had said, in a committee to be able to discuss that and go through it, it doesn't change the fact of nobody can take the pension out right now. And it won't matter if we approve it today at 127%. We see how it goes, we set the committee, and then we move forward there. And it will work itself out. You know, you just have to go through, it will work itself out by the first time somebody could take a benefit different level out, which would be, on my sheet, 2023.
Okay, if it's gonna work itself out, 2 years ago, we were told by the mayor that he was comfortable with 111%. Who's to say in 3 years when we come back, when it's all finalized, that you, city council, mayor, whoever else is up there, has changed their mind again? Well, that's 9%, they wanna go to 29%. Because 2 years ago, we were told by the mayor that he was comfortable with 111%. That's what we had kind of went with the Relief Association. We pick one percentage number, whatever closest dollar amount falls to that, that's what we'll go to. You're saying that you're scared of the crash. Well, the crash can come at any time. I'm sorry, I can't.
Correction, not a crash.
Correction, crash. So we come back next year and you say, well, it didn't happen yet, or it did, or it didn't. It's, all we're getting is the he said, she said thing. You know, because 2 years ago we were told we were good at 111%. And now you're saying we're good at 120, but we're only gonna approve it for 127%.
But I think if I could just, Mayor and council members and firefighters, if I could just comment, I think that what I'm hearing the council members say is they're supporting the fire department, they want to give you an increase, they're concerned that this is an obligation not to all of the jurisdictions that are part of the fire department, but to the city. I think what I'm hearing is they'd like to give you regular, consistent increases. It certainly, if you plan on retiring in 3 years from now and not 4, it certainly is going to make some difference, yes. But they are saying they want to give you regular, consistent increases. I think there is concern about whether or not there's downturns, because that 127 might end up being 105.
Yeah.
And we just don't know that. And I think what I'm hearing though is they want to give you regular, consistent increases. I think there, in the conversation that I had, a couple council members is they weren't real comfortable with the percentage, even the 120, to be quite honest. But I'm just kind of telling you that they want to give consistent increases.
And the difference here now, you know, to bring this forward is that, you know, I'm nothing against Wells Fargo. The last one was Wells Fargo that we had as a representative, right?
Before Perry.
Yeah. Now it's streamlined out to para. It's a one-way entry. You're never leaving. You know, it's para for the process. And so the para process goes through and there's a transition. That's why you can't change the benefit level when you enter para for 5 years. It's no different than what we're doing here in getting ready for the 5th year. You know, it's not perfect on year 1, because think of if you were ready to retire, if you joined para, you're stuck there for 4 more years before you can make any changes at para. And that's statewide, it's not citywide, it's every relief association enters, it's a 5-year lockdown. And so it's the same thing that the city council's kind of mirroring to get to the, you know, to even the process out. And I'm sure that that's part of why para did that.
Not really, because if it's a 5-year lockdown, we started at 2 years ago, 111% they told us. You guys told us 111%, you're comfortable with it. We're 2 years into it now, we're at 100. Well, you say you want to go to 120% next year, we're improving, and you're thinking you want to go to 127, so that's, what, 16% raise, so after 126%, you'll be at 139% funding next year you want, that you'll feel comfortable with?
No, we didn't say
We're going the wrong
139.
direction. It'd be interesting to see what you guys would, your benefit package, what you would think if you were leaving 25% of your pension on the table.
And lucky for everybody sitting in this room and all of our hardworking firefighters, nobody's leaving a single penny behind, because nobody can take a benefit level out until 2023.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
You can't.
I understand you can't, but you have to also see our side of it. We just keep getting beat down every year, worse and worse. So you keep saying, well, there's 5 years, yep, it's gonna be 100% or whatever, 5 years. No way. You say that, but we're going the opposite direction. The percentage keeps getting higher, what you guys are comfortable with.
Well, Mr. Roxbury, it would be very nice that you can keep this video that's being recorded right here, and we can talk about this in 12 months, 13 months-ish.
That's fine.
Thank you.
I'd like, can I make a comment?
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
I think you need to look at this benefit increase as the carrot the council and the city has for their employees. It's the only tool that this city has to retain firefighters long-term. Our wages are at $10 an hour. You can go be a liquor store clerk for $12.95 an hour. For the amount of time we put in, the amount of time we volunteer and have volunteered for years and gone without pay for trainings and all sorts of things. None of us sign up, I don't think, looking for a paycheck or even thinking about a retirement. But when you get long-term firefighters, 10, 12, 15, 20 years, which is what some of us are at, it becomes, you're looking at a knowledge base that's really beneficial for every single firefighter in here and by extension the community. We're looking to see, I understand you're responsible to your constituents, but when you're talking, the vast majority of relief associations in the state don't run overfunded at 120%. That's ridiculous. I understand your concern. This is the opportunity, and it's going to be looked at very, very negatively by, I'll say, the senior members and probably some of the junior members of this department. What you're saying sounds reasonable, except what Jay says is true. You know, the elections come up. We're here no matter who gets elected, so we're told 111% is okay. Well, now the line's changed to 120, you know. You may decide to run for re-election or not. We may have a different council. To say 120%, yet you're not willing to go there today with it. I think we'd like to see something, if we have a benefit, those monies available. It's in our retirement pool right now.
Right, and I think that,
and I understand we can't draw on it. We're all clear as a bell on that.
Yep.
But I don't for 1 second of one day when I watch and see you have, we're sitting at 137% right now, and you're not gonna let us go to 120%? If the market doesn't correct, and in 3 years, we're sitting at 170% overfunded?
you're gonna come back and you're gonna use this video, and that's not gonna happen. Just like what I had said to Mr. Roxbury, lucky for you, today is much different than what it was with the former mayor and the process. This is on a video that can get replayed back, and you can save it on your phone, and you can come back, and you can go, hey, this is what's, and I'm not saying that the former mayor didn't tell you 111% wasn't right, but the former mayor also chipped in money out of the city's general fund to help cover the deficiency that happened in the crash. So we also, the council has learned through that process. And there is going to be no difference between now and 2023. Nobody is going to take a benefit level, whether we approve it to make it sound better or feel better today. And so we're saying that 127, we're going to work this out. No different than para. Why does para lock you down for 60 months and not let you retire at a higher benefit? What was their reasoning for doing that? It has nothing to do with city council. It's the way that the process is set up.
I understand that, but this is your opportunity to support your fire department in retirement, and we all understand. If we come back in 3 years and we're overfunded by 60%, do you think we believe that you're gonna get percent? I don't believe that for 1 second.
Because you're not coming back in 36 months, you're coming back in 12. So I hope that you're still here in 12 months and that we rehab this discussion in 12 months, because we're not coming back in 36 months to redo this right now. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying, but
Mayor and council, if I could, and sir, if I could ask, you had quoted some type of statistic here saying that the city of Princeton is below the average coverage ratio by a significant amount across the state. So is there some, I don't recall any data that showed us where we sat in relation to other areas, other than a few communities. I didn't see us being below or above the median. So, I mean, you've made that quote. I don't recall any data like that being submitted to us.
Chad, is there a breakdown of the funding ratios for most departments? Most departments aren't over 120, are they?
And if it hasn't been gathered yet, perhaps it's useful information, but what I'm saying is, I don't think it's been gathered.
I did run across some of that. It's in the, I think the latest I saw was from 2017. It's on the state auditor's website, but I would say it's all over the map. There's a lot of departments that are, over 150, 170% funded. And then there's a lot that are in, you have some that are underfunded and some that are, I think the sweet spot is probably in that 105 to 120.
So, that empirical information is valuable. You sounded like you were quoting something that was specific. Now, I see it's not real specific, it's kind of general, which is fine. But, that kind of data can make a difference, so. And I certainly think the council does want to support firefighters. So I hope that regardless of what they decide, that's recognized, and regardless of what they decide tonight, if they decide tonight, that there is another year coming up, and I think that there's further consideration and adjustment.
And for the rest of the firefighters who aren't here, I hope that you take back to them, not necessarily that the retirement benefit isn't going to be increased or we're not going to. We're talking about it today. We're also working very hard with all the membership to get new equipment and a truck fund. And so going back to, supporting the ladder truck, supporting the new engine, and going back through this larger scale plan, the city council has stepped forward to do future planning in doing equipment replacement. So we are there's a lot of moving parts and steps that are happening here. And so you've got to give all of that stuff into consideration through the process. And I can see your eyes frowning because you're not agreeing with me.
I understand what you're doing, but this is two different entities we're talking about. We're talking about the relief side and the fire department side.
And this city council supports the fire department and the firefighters and all of the membership going back through. And so, again, you have the video. We'll rediscuss this in 12 months, regardless of what happens, where you don't have a video from the former mayor doing that, but today you do. And so we will have this conversation again. We're very excited, we're very proud of our building, we're very proud of all the firefighters, we're very proud of all the equipment, and we want you guys to, well, we don't want to discourage you from applying at the liquor store if you really wanted to, but I think your uniforms are a lot nicer than the liquor store uniforms that we have for you guys, in what you had said. And
Anything else from anybody else, membership that's here?
Mr. Mayor and Council, you talked about forming a committee to revisit this every year. That 120% that you have mentioned that you're comfortable with, is that something that can be revisited and agreed upon with the council or the committee that is formed?
Yeah.
Mayor, Council,
Yeah.
I brought that up, I addressed it, I threw out 120. That's negotiable, I mean, that's up for negotiation with the committee that.
That's kind of what I was thinking, and is that?
But that's a whole council that would decide on what the rate of return should be, but, you know, I don't want to say you've already kind of hammered on what the former mayor was comfortable with 111, you know. I just say, you know, I'm not a financial guy by all means, but I know the market can dip drastically, and when we say 105 or 110, it can come down 10. You know, it could go to 10 in just a matter of a few days. So I just throw out 120.
Yep.
You know.
And I agree with that. I guess where I was going with that is, if this committee is formed and we see that the market thrives or the market does have a correction, that committee can address that percentage at that time and present that to the council for approval. Correct?
Correct.
Is there a way that we could use that as, because we have 3 years left in our peril before anybody could collect, is there a way that we can maybe set up some kind of contractual thing for the next 3 years for that committee to evaluate that every year and then bring it to the council?
I don't know that it would be contractual. I think that it's kind of like having your guys' truck committee, like your equipment committee that, you know, you guys select the membership that decides, and I don't want, you could say it's two separate things, but it kind of is in the process. But, you know, like you guys selected your truck committee of people who you thought would be the best people that would select the truck. It's going to be no different than who you guys select to be on the committee for the Relief Association, you know, where, you know, someone like myself might not say, hey, I'm not going to say what he said, but, you know, I might not be the best financial person to be able to discuss that, but maybe Councilor Edmonds is that best person that's there to have that. And so that would be who we would select to be on the committee. We have done that before.
Can I ask, or sorry to interrupt, Mayor and Councilman, did you feel stymied this year in your ability to come forward with your request?
Did I feel
Were you
stymied?
thwarted in any way to come forward with your request?
Me personally?
Well, your firefighters and the whole committee, I mean, the whole discussion. I mean, you weren't thwarted in any way, were you? I mean, I think the council is, I think the administration as well as the council is very engaging to the issues that need to be discussed. And I don't see any problem with, if this comes forward 10 months from now, for example, that we couldn't put an ad hoc committee together and sit down and have a discussion. I mean, we're pretty open. I think it's pretty open administration. So I don't think that the formality of, you know, I think the council's general consensus and commitment to agree to sit down at some future date is here.
Yeah, I think, Mayor, Council, I think we've shown that with the committee on the fire engine and the ladder. You put together a committee, you came, you made a recommendation the committee made a recommendation through the fire chief, anyway, to the council, and we listened to what you had to say. And we took it very seriously, and I think the results are there now. So I don't see this as any different. We take it very seriously.
Well, when this came up, Chief Lawrence and Chad did presenting that night, I'm just going to assume they were chosen by membership to do that.
Chad, I don't know, membership to do this presentation.
So,
This year?
oh yeah, last week. Chad,
For the fire relief.
yeah, Chad was the one that was chosen to do the presentation, right? By you guys, I would assume. So I mean, I guess aren't we being open and honest and allowing you guys to make your presentations?
I thought he did a fantastic job. I just couldn't find it in the computer. I mean, the PDF was great. We went through the PowerPoint, and it went very good. I mean, it helped everybody understand exactly what we're at today, where we're at, and going forward to, put it, I mean, historically, you know what I mean? Like, this is here, it's in the agenda. That meeting wasn't videotaped, this one is. It's a moot point, but it's the same private process. But for me, I'm good at 3,600 at 127%, and then have the committee, we'll discuss it. We've all had this conversation. We're all going to be here exactly 12 months from right now. There is no election between now and 12 months. 13 months there is, but not at 12 months. So I'm just pointing that out, but we're good at 12 months. And so if there's anybody else who wants to make a comment, I'm going to go back to the council then. So wishes of the council to go through, sorry, I got to catch back up where I am. Number 11, the Relief Association increase request. This has to be done according to what we were told by 12/31/2019. Do we want to make a motion on this now? Do you want to table it for 30 days, or do you want to wait 2 weeks? Wishes of the council.
I see no reason why we can't do it tonight.
Okay, yep, and
And I like I said, I'm in favor of the $200 in 2020, which brings it to, what was it, 127? Or
yeah, 127%. So to $3,600 benefit level, and then it brings it to 127%.
And then along with that, I'll make that the motion then, and then along with that would be to the establishment of the committee to meet and to make a recommendation for future, well, next year, for future funding.
12 months from now.
12 months.
Not
Okay.
13, 12, right?
12 months is.
Okay, I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
I would just say that the Relief Commission would like to have a sit down with a committee that gets your work done early, so that we're sitting down ahead of schedule, so that's probably 10 months from now. Okay? Thank you.
I was gonna say, we can't set a date in this motion because we can't take a date 10 months down the road.
Or 12.
So,
Prior to,
so I would
prior
say
to
whoever,
2021.
the fire chief and Brad can pick.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, guys. Okay, number 2, purchase agreement, development agreement for Chino Properties.
Council, we have a purchase agreement. We've been working with Chino Properties to come to an agreement for the land, lot 1, block 1 of the business park. If you remember, on the date. September 12th, 2019, you guys approved the tax increment financing agreement for the property. The owner is going to take one half of the lot. We're going to split it into 2 pieces, and the buyer shall pay $88,500 for legal and consultant fees plus $5,000 as a purchase price. And they've already submitted $4,250, which is half of the fees. And attached are the personal purchase agreement, the developer's agreement, and TIF agreement. And the developer's agreement outlines the requirements of SAC and WAC fees, the $500 site plan application fee, and $1,000 required escrow fee to cover items such as survey, stormwater, easement review, and related items. And the developer's agreement is dependent upon the TIF agreement that we've already approved. So the site application has been submitted along with the first payment and will be reviewed next Tuesday. And at the Planning Commission meeting, if all goes well, the project will start this fall still. So I don't know if I'll say anything else.
I would just add that in the way that it's assembled with utilizing the TIF district and the development agreement, it comes out that the site sale is somewhere around that $100,000 to $120,000 that the city would net out of this purchase. So, and it is a development that would proceed. Hopefully, this fall, and it's 10,000 square feet, commercial building, and hopefully there'll be a second phase to it, which would net about the same amount in purchase price for the land and produce a similar sized building. I would just mention that phase 2, the agreements are in draft stage. They will be probably before the council next week, or at the next meeting, excuse me, 2 weeks from now.
And part of the city attorney reviewed it, and it's
Correct.
good to approve it.
Yes.
If we wish to approve it. Yep.
Yeah, I just have one other, they're committing to 2 lots, but they're only buying one right now. So, am I correct?
Yes.
So what happened with the second part of that purchase?
It would be, they would have the right to buy that second acre.
And is there like a time frame on it?
Yes, 2 years. 2 years to give a notification and 3 years to, in which to start.
And they either, if they back out, then that's enough.
That's true. But they have a concept that seems to work pretty well for the 2 sites to balance.
No, they gave a good presentation, I hope it goes well, I mean, but we still have to
Right.
know where we're gonna go with that if it doesn't go through. Is my only question, I guess.
It would appear in the way that it's set up that that second acre is useful for somewhat. In either case.
I guess the way it's set up, one thought I had, but maybe the way it's set up, it wouldn't be relevant, would be if the buyer had first right of refusal, but that's not gonna, that wouldn't play into this setup. I don't think it.
No. So if there isn't anything else, wishes of the council to approve the purchase agreement, developer agreement for Chino Properties
And TIF agreement.
and resolution 19-51, right?
And then T, I would have 8-4. We're doing it all in one motion.
Yep.
I'll move the approval of this.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second? Second. A motion and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Okay, public safety building discussion verbal.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, in our CIP meeting, we talked about this cold storage building. Todd and I did some quotes, and the first one was below 300,000. Checking on some quotes outside of our building and other places, we found that one facility was building for $225,000. Out of that $225,000, we had $22,000, which is insurance from the city.
Yep.
For the CIP purposes, we just want to give you an update that $100,000 would be needed instead of $200,000 for the city.
I think the biggest part of the discussion for the council or where is it going to be located? It's not necessarily the cost or the necessary, the building being necessary, because it is. And to do it, it's just the placement of the building.
Right, and that's something I think we should talk about later on.
Mm-hmm.
But we just want to give you an update that we're
Yeah.
trying to do this as
Got it.
So you're talking cold, no insulation, but it's cement floor.
I'm sorry.
You're talking cold storage, no insulation or any kind of heat, but it's cement floor.
It would have insulation and a steel wall, just to make it easier for the electrical outlets and the electrical, and for the garage doors and the openers to mount to. Otherwise, yeah, no heat at this time anyhow. Electrical, cold storage.
Well, if you set it up so if you would put heat in the future, you'd be kind of far away there.
Right, and then he did say, no lack of buildings, it would be cheaper to put it in now than to wait and try and put the insulation and steel siding inside it later. Yes. I guess we can form a procedure.
Okay, and so we have a further discussion on that, right? Okay. Okay, perfect. And just one last thing, I think we have that check for the insurance money, finance director? We did collect that check from
We have not collected it. They won't pay until we incur
the expense. Oh,
And do we have a time frame in which we have to complete that by or incur the expense? 2 years from the event?
I don't know that there is a,
Commercial sometimes has a limit, that's why.
Yeah, it has a limit to the process.
So maybe we should just check into that. 'Cause,
Yeah, you guys will work on that then, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Mayor, if I could,
Yep.
when you're done with that item, I'd like to draw your attention to something, please.
Yep, anything else underneath the public safety building discussion? Oh, staff.
Mayor and Council, I'm just looking for a little clarification back to number 2, which we just acted on. In that number 2, with that, you approved the purchase agreement, the development agreement, and the TIF agreement, correct? As
Yep.
well as the resolution?
The resolution in TIF 8-4, yep.
And I'm fine with that as long as the minutes reflect that, Shauna? Okay.
Yeah, you said that, all three of them.
All 3 of them plus the resolution. Okay?
Yes, got it. Okay, number 4, outdoor recreation grant contract. Staff, probably.
Mayor and council, in February, the council authorized the city to apply for funding to the state of Minnesota DNR for the outdoor recreation grant for Poseidon Ruby Park, which requires a 50% match for all the qualified costs. In June, we were notified that the recreation grant had been awarded to the city for $220,000. And with the match acquired from franchise fees, park dedication funds, and through applying for funds from local organizations and granting foundations. We have just recently received the grant contract from the DNR. The contract is attached. Once the contract is executed, we can begin working on both sides of the park. The first step in that process is phase 1 archaeological study, and we are currently in the process of collecting bids from archaeologists. We just recommend that you approve the execution of the.
Wishes the council, hopefully the water goes down, huh?
That would help.
Waiting for them.
That was 220 and we have to match 220.
Yes.
Correct.
Mayor and council members, I could just make a couple comments. First of all, it was a great application, good success, good start anyways to a project. And if you remember, in our CIP discussions, there was the commitment, I believe it was by Stephanie or so, to raise at least $30,000 to $40,000 of that 220 in various means. Some of it was coming from the Rotary. I know there's already 8 or 10 there already. So there's still some funds that are needed. There's a lot of in-kind matches that could be provided. Different sources from different, that could come in to reduce that, but it's a pretty big project and it's, would be implemented in 2020 and 2021. Yeah, no contract extension, if you don't want to get in there.
Yeah, well, that's what we did the show before. Grants look so wonderful, and you don't have the backing, and all of a sudden you're in a rock and hard place. But here we kind of looked ahead far enough to.
Yeah, with the franchise fee, that's.
The dollar amount, I didn't remember the dollar amount being what it was. But I looked at that, really?
Just a comment, Mayor, Council, Park Board is very excited about this. Very excited. See it as a real plus for our city. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the contract for the outdoor recreation grant.
Yep. Second. I have a motion and a second for the discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, moving on to new business. The Emergency Preparedness Program contract renewal for the radios.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you is a contract from our radiological emergency preparedness program that we participate in every year with the Department of Human Services. We've done this for many years now. This is our year. We're just reevaluated by FEMA. I believe I sent you an email. We were singled out by FEMA as being one of the best places they have been to in cited professionalism, knowledge, and setup and process this year was outstanding. So the fire department and everybody that helps us out did a great job participating in that. And second, this is just a contract for the next 3 years to provide those services, to do the training for the next 3 years with them. something that we sign every 3 years, I guess, this will be the first one. But they do give us an annual budget that helps the fire department purchase things for emergency management, the room and radios and stuff like that.
Wishes the council?
Where does the funding come from? They give you an annual budget?
We get funding from DHS, the state of Minnesota, that's given to us to prepare for this. So we pay the employees, we pay for the rentals. And once all the training is done, I usually have some money left over where I can purchase 2 radios for the fire department, a certain amount, or for the police department now. Stuff for the emergency management room. It's limited on some stuff I cannot purchase, but it does help, basically. Emergency management.
So it definitely is a positive, like to do, stay with it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Even if you didn't get anything out of it, or dollar-wise, you get something out of it regardless.
It's good for the community, it's good for us.
Can any of that money be used for the new building you talked about?
I can ask that.
Okay, just wondering.
Yeah. Okay, wishes the council to approve the contract? Yep, it's got signatures. I have a motion, I have a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, moving on to number 2, approval of the purchase of the police utility vehicle. And there's a memo in the packet on page 94.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, so we have, in the CIP for 2020, we have a replacement of the squad car. The window has opened and will close soon to purchase a state-bid utility, trying to limit the situations that we've had in the past with Ford. So I'm looking for the approval just to go ahead and order the car. We wouldn't be seeing it probably until mid-March. And then that's obviously when we take delivery would be when we would have to pay for it.
Okay.
And what was the total cost?
Cars.
We budgeted 37. The state bid for the car, I want to say, is 24-ish, right around there, I believe.
I didn't see a number, that's what I was curious about. Because you think you'd be under budget,
Yeah.
but there was not a number to go with it.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. 1040 just got the bid for the utility, so I'm waiting to get all the paperwork from them so I can turn it around to them.
Are they the ones that lost our last one?
No, that would be a different, yes, not them.
No, okay, then I'd move to
There's still a
I have a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And then the car is black and white, so.
Correct.
The car is black and white. That was my question and discussion. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Moving on to the bill list. Bill list is on page 98, 97. Oops.
I move to approve the bill list, which includes the manual checks as listed on the manual bill list, for a total of $0.
No, it's a bill list, finance director, is a bill list 0? The bill list I'm looking at here has got, it's got 300 for it.
Under budget.
Yes, 0, it is 0. There's nothing on the bill list.
There's nothing on the manual bill list, it's only the.
Copy paste project is it? Is it okay? For a total of $0. And the items listed on the liquor bill list and general city bill list, which will be checks 80057 to 80135 for a total of $212,162.96.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries 4-0. Anything under miscellaneous?
There's a groundbreaking that's scheduled for.
Yes, it is. And then, sorry, no, that's totally fine. Anything else under miscellaneous?
I'd just like to report that we had the SOAR Women's Business Conference today, and we had a great turnout, 125 people.
Yeah, it looks sold out.
And it was great, so a lot of great feedback, and we're hoping to bring it back here next year.
Yeah, good. Anything else on miscellaneous then? Seeing none, I take a motion to approve for adjournment on number 15.
Motion to adjourn?
I have a motion, do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're adjourned.